Welcome, everybody, and thank you for taking the time to join us today for our presentation, What You Need to Know to Prepare for a Secure ServiceNow Instance. Before we start, as usual, we have our safe harbor slide. Good news is that all the features and functions that I'm going to be discussing with you today are current platform features, and I won't be making any forward-looking statements. My name is Rodrigo Sarrega. I'm going to be your host today. I'm a security analyst with the ServiceNow Office of the CISO. And at the Office of the CISO, our mission is to help customers understand the security features and capabilities that we have within the platform so they can use them to secure their ServiceNow environment. So why are we here? Let's start with this quote from Gartner. Through 2025, more than 99 of cloud breaches will be traced back to preventable misconfigurations or mistakes by end users. So today, what I want to do is to walk you through some of the security features and capabilities that we have available to you out of the box in the ServiceNow platform, so you know how to use them to make sure that you and your ServiceNow instance are not within the 99% that Gartner is referencing here. So my goal is to give you information about how to secure your ServiceNow instance, help you understand where you are in your ServiceNow security journey. I'm going to share with you our crawl, walk, run approach. And I also want to know, I want you to know and understand the resources that are available to you. We have a ton of documents and customer-facing resources that are available that will help you configure your instance securely. And we also have, as I said before, documentation that you can really benefit if you feel that you need to assess ServiceNow as a vendor. So before we start, and if you are new to ServiceNow, you probably don't know what a ServiceNow instance is. So let's start by providing a definition and a high-level overview of the components we have behind the solution. A ServiceNow instance is basically a private cloud-based copy of the ServiceNow platform. It includes applications, databases, libraries, and virtual machines that work together to deliver the ServiceNow platform service. And as you can see from this slide, each instance is independent, private, and not shared with any other customers. So you, as a customer, receive a set of dedicated application nodes and a dedicated database. All interactive end user activities are performed using a browser, and all that communication is encrypted in transit using TLS 1.2 at a minimum. If we look at this from a physical security perspective, we can think this in two ways. First, on the right is the colocation data center. So you, as a customer, you have two live instances replicated in real time between two different geographically separated data centers. And you can see that from physical perspective, the colocation data centers on the right are providing environmental controls, redundant power. There's the 24/7 on-site security monitoring via CCTV and video recordings. At the data center, we are tracking access and visitors into the data center, and we are also auditing all the access controls across the entire data center. Now, within those colocation data centers, and this is what you can see on the left side of this view, ServiceNow has its own dedicated page space. And within this dedicated space, ServiceNow is responsible for all the equipment. All equipment is owned by ServiceNow and managed by ServiceNow personnel. And within this dedicated space, we have biometric access controls, and monitoring controls for everybody going in and out of that space. And as you can see from this slide, we are a global company. The ServiceNow co-location facilities are arranged in high availability regional pairs, spanning across 5 different continents. We have Asia, Australia, Europe, North America, and South America. And when a customer signs the order form, they specify a data center region where the instance will be located. If we look at some of the metrics we have on the left side of this view, you can see that we deliver this service worldwide through 18 pair data centers, and that run 24/7, 365 days a year, and we guarantee 99.995 uptime. And so one thing that we talk about as an organization is ServiceNow as one platform, one data model with consistent controls. And what that means is that no matter what module you're using within ServiceNow, whether it's ITSM, IT service management, or perhaps maybe HRSD for human resources or other modules, all these ServiceNow modules benefit from the same security controls because it's one platform and one data model. So as you can see from this view, everything starts with our secure application development and our secure software development lifecycle. All ServiceNow code goes through a really rigorous process to make sure that the code that we produce is secure. Then as we move into these other options that we have here, we see we have encryption and key management. These are features and capabilities. Some are out of the box, some are premium and require additional licensing that will help you with your encryption at rest requirements. Audit and monitoring, that's the portion of the platform that basically represents all the extensive logging that the platform performs for transactions, events, and system-level activities. All this information is basically stored within tables in a customer instance, and customers can access this information via the GUI, or customers can forward these events to their log management solution using mechanisms like syslog, API calls, or log export services, which is a feature that we will be discussing later in this webinar. And then as we move into other items, we can see that we have authentication and identity. This basically represents the features and capabilities that we have within the platform for you to enable single sign-on, perform the integration with Azure Entra ID, Okta, SailPoint, etc. Benefit from the out-of-the-box MFA for any local accounts and any local logins. And we also have adaptive authentication to create more granular authentication policies that would allow you to define where your users can connect from. And down in the bottom left, we have our ecosystem of system integrations. And then we have platform security controls with a number of out-of-the-box tools that are available to you. And then at the very bottom of this view, you can see that ServiceNow aligns with a number of different regulatory frameworks. So now let's start with our first poll of the day. And this first question is, what is your level of confidence in securing a ServiceNow instance? And the options that we have are extremely confident, somewhat confident, neutral, not very confident, or I have no idea where to begin. So please take a moment, go ahead and select your option. I'll give this 15 seconds or so. I want to make sure that I capture as much information as I can from the attendees. And then, once we have that information, we'll move ahead to the next topic. So my goal today is to get you from where you are at now to hopefully the next step, the next level on securing your ServiceNow instance. So I have a lot of content, a lot of material that I'm going to be sharing with you. And hopefully all that information that I have here in this section will help you move to the next level. So we can go ahead and close this poll now. And we are going to go and move into our main topics for this session. So as you probably know, security is a journey, and not just for ServiceNow, but in general. Enterprise cybersecurity is a journey, and in this session, I'm going to talk about our crawl, walk, run approach for securing your ServiceNow instance. So first, we'll talk about our crawl. And here we're going to discuss things like the resources that ServiceNow provides for you to be able to secure your ServiceNow instance. We will then also cover the importance of providing up-to-date security contact information. That way, if something happens, we are able to reach out to your security team. And then we will discuss, software updates, because every software has security updates and application updates, and we want to make sure that you are getting those updates in a timely manner. So no matter who you are, we are here to help you, and we have a range of documentation and resources for customers and partners. So starting from the left, we have the Trust site, which is a public-facing site. It does not require you to log in, and offers things like white papers, information on privacy, compliance, and other industry topics. Then for current ServiceNow customers, the core compliance portal provides secure access to certifications, attestations, security advisories. This is the place where you can go and download ServiceNow SOC 2 Type 2 reports, ISO certifications, or check our standard operating procedures, like, for example, the information security standard procedure for ServiceNow, or our vulnerability management standard procedure, and other documents like pen test reports and other. And then if you're a partner, you can use the ServiceNow Partner Portal, which includes similar resources such as white papers, compliant documents, assurance packs, and others. So like I mentioned before, the ServiceNow Core Compliance Portal enables ServiceNow customers to self-serve documentation to help support internal audits, assessment requirements, prepare for on-site audits, and address any regulatory requirements. This portal includes things like ServiceNow certifications and attestations. Like I mentioned before, you can access and download SOC 1 Type 2 reports, SOC 2 Type 2 reports, internal policies and standard operating procedures, data center certifications, and other documents. So basically, the core compliance portal is our way or mechanism to be transparent with our customers and prospects and partners as well, to share with them how we are approaching security at ServiceNow. So this is a really important resource that, again, we have available for customers, partners, and also for prospects. So please scan that QR code and make sure you bookmark this link. And if you don't have access to the core compliance portal, please reach out to your ServiceNow admin and have your admin provide access to you. Another great resource and document is the Security Best Practice Guide. So this document outlines key areas that customers should consider when securing the ServiceNow instance. So you'll see things like how to set up the account recovery feature, which is the feature that allows you to access your instance if something goes wrong with your single sign-on configuration. Or for example, you'll see other things like how to use security data filters and the value of using data security filters to create dynamic access controls in your environment. Another thing that we reference in this document is Security Center, which is a really important tool that you can use to secure and harden your ServiceNow environment. And you'll see that Security Center is a very important topic for this session and something that we will be touching multiple times over this session. And I'll do my best to give you as much details as I can around Security Center. Again, this is a really important document. If you have the chance, scan that QR code, make sure you bookmark this document and start your ServiceNow security journey right here with this document. And moving into patch and upgrade, ServiceNow instances undergo regular patching to maintain security and performance. ServiceNow patching program helps you ensure that your platform is up to date and you can take advantage of our automated patching service to assist you with this process. Typically, there are 2 major releases every year. Other products might also have occasional updates. And it's really important to monitor these updates and maintain your instance version as N-1. So for example, if the current family version is Zurich, Yokohama will be the N-1. So make sure that you stay up to date as much as possible with the family release. And if you get the chance, please subscribe to our automated patching program as well. And security contacts are an important aspect of your organization's responsibility as a ServiceNow customer. This allows, as I mentioned before, ServiceNow to have a point of contact in the event of a security incident. And it's important to know that these security contacts ideally should not be your ServiceNow admin. So we typically recommend customers to provide contact information for at least 2 information security personnel or other individuals that are authorized by your organization to discuss security-related events with ServiceNow. These contacts need to have the ability to quickly communicate with business owners and leadership within your organization as required. Ideally, they should also have a solid understanding of ServiceNow as a platform and how the organization is using the platform. So that means, what use cases do we have within the platform? What modules? What type of data do we have in the platform? And this is because in the event of a security incident, if they have that knowledge, discussions with ServiceNow security team will be more productive and more informed versus having confusing or unexpected, conversations, right? And also, it is important to remember that these contacts need to be willing to receive security-related communications, whether it's via email or phone from ServiceNow security team. Perhaps something to keep in mind here is that when submitting the information for these security individuals, you might also consider using a distribution list. That way, more people within the security organization can receive ServiceNow notifications and they can be aware of any relevant information. And now we are moving into one of my favorite topics, which is Security Center. ServiceNow Security Center provides tools and information to improve your instance security hardening and instance security posture. We have around 217 hardening checks we perform for you. We also have a scanner that you can use to check for risky configurations. You can create your own checks. You can access metrics to see relevant information around your ServiceNow security environment. And you can also access learning modules inside Security Center that will reference different documents and different information that ServiceNow admins and ServiceNow security teams can really benefit from. So it is important to remember that most cloud breaches originate from preventable misconfigurations. So we strongly recommend using Security Center to harden your environment and make sure your instance is safe and secure. And within Security Center, ServiceNow administrators can also benefit from best practices to harden the environment. These best practices are grouped in 4 different categories, like build a foundation, enhance experience, optimize functionality, and add advanced features. And each task, like the ones that you are seeing here in this screenshot, provide step-by-step instructions for implementing and performing the configuration of these best practices. So you can go ahead and start using Security Center and start your security journey by reviewing all the items that are classified as build a foundation, which are the items that we show you in that light yellow color. So that's typically a really good way to start, like I said before, on how to harden your ServiceNow instance and start approaching security around your environment using our expertise and our guidance. So that was the crawl phase. So now let's go ahead and talk about walk. So in this phase, we are going to talk about the shared responsibility model. We are going to talk about Security Center in more detail. We are also going to talk about login, authentication, authorization, and finally, email security. So let's start with ServiceNow shared responsibility model. This is a really important document. We have a QR code on that screen that will take you to a document that breaks all this information that we have here in this table in more detail. If you have the chance, please scan the code and bookmark this document. So we see security as a partnership between ServiceNow and the customer. And as you can see from this table, both with really well-defined responsibilities. ServiceNow provides customers with a secure cloud environment and the tools and the guidance for customers to secure their instances. And customers are responsible for securing their instances and the data within the instance. There's a bit of an overlap in some of these categories, but at a high level, that is what's happening here. So this table shows you an overview of the key responsibilities in the ServiceNow shared responsibility model. And if we take an example here really quick, you can see, for example, data encryption at rest. You can see that that's a customer responsibility, and ServiceNow does not perform encryption of data at rest by default for customers using the standard ServiceNow commercial cloud. So if you check the document and that particular item, you'll see that ServiceNow provides customers with some options for data encryption at rest. Some are, for example, like field encryption starter for encrypting data at the application level. That's an out-of-the-box and free feature for our customers. And some other features are premium options like cloud encryption and field encryption enterprise that are available at an additional cost. So, like I said before, this is a really important document that you need to get familiar with. Please scan the QR code, make sure you bookmark this document, and make sure you go across all these different items and categories that we have here. The document has a lot of information. The document does a really good job at breaking down the responsibilities between the customer and ServiceNow. We also provide links to supporting information like standard operating procedures in ServiceNow, KVs, and any other relevant information for those topics. So again, really, really important document. So within your ServiceNow instance, we typically talk about security controls in three different groups. We have the invisibles, the configurables, and the enhanceables. And the invisibles are the things that we do behind the scenes for you and things that you as a customer are never going to have to worry about. Like, for example, disaster recovery, physical security, environment controls, vulnerability and patch management, secure software development lifecycle, and certifications and attestations. Again, things that we do behind the scenes for you to make sure that we have a strong security program, and also to make sure that we have the elements to provide the service 24/7, 365 days a year. Then we have the configurables, which are the things that you as a customer need to configure in your ServiceNow instance to keep your instance safe and secure. So in this group, we see things like restricting access to the app and restricting access within the app. Those are, how you can define your single sign-on, which IDP you want to use, if you want to use MFA. And within the app are things like, ACLs, role-based access control, security data filters, and other elements that you can use to secure the data, right? Then we have data and privacy, logging and monitoring, instance hardening, and encryption. And then on the last group, we have the enhanceables. Those are the advanced security features and functions that we have available to you at an extra cost that can help you approach advanced security requirements and compliance needs. So this is where we have our Vault offering, which includes zero trust, log export services, code signing, advanced encryption capabilities, and data privacy features as well. So why are we doing this? Why are we having this session? We are doing this because, again, we want to make sure you keep your ServiceNow instance safe and secure against any of the threats that are out there waiting to compromise your environment. Whether it's a malware or unauthorized access to your data, or perhaps some malicious code that is trying to compromise an app within your ServiceNow environment, we want to make sure that your instance is safe and secure and available for your internal users. And you as a customer play a really important role in this process. So let's move into another question. What is your experience with ServiceNow Security Center? I know I show you at a really high level what Security Center is, but I'm really curious and I want to know if you are actually using Security Center, right? Or if you know about Security Center. So our options here are, I never heard of Security Center. I have heard of Security Center, but I never use it, or I use it regularly. So let's take 10, 15 seconds. I do apologize that for some reason I cannot see the results here, so that's why I'm not commenting on any results. But let's take 10, 15 seconds to capture the information and see how familiar you are with Security Center for our own knowledge. As I mentioned before, Security Center is one of our core tools in our security program. We want to make sure our customers are aware of the benefits from the tool. And you'll see in my next slide, how you can really benefit by using all the 5 features that we have within Security Center.
Rodrigo, you got about 63% in the middle. I've heard it but never used it. And the rest are fairly equally split between never heard of it and I use it regularly.
Okay, so let's go ahead and share some more information about Security Center. Hopefully you'll see the benefit, and hopefully after this session, you can start using Security Center. So Security Center basically includes 5 different tools that you can use to increase your security and compliance posture of your ServiceNow instance. And as you can see from these different boxes that we have at the bottom of this slide, we have hardening, we have metrics, we have a scanner, learning, and best practices. So these are 5 different features that you can use as you are approaching security and as you are looking to harden your ServiceNow environment. So let's start, going over each one so you can get an idea of what you can benefit from each of these options. So security hardening this is a feature that you can use to ensure existing hardening configuration and security parameters inside the platform are aligned with ServiceNow security recommendations. So this is like having a ServiceNow security expert behind your shoulder that is checking all these security parameters that we have within the ServiceNow instance and basically tells you whether you are following the best practices or not. As I mentioned before, we have something around like maybe 217 different parameters that we check. And we can check things like, for example, to see if you have the HTML sanitizer enabled, right? So the HTML sanitizer is, for example, the feature that helps you prevent cross-site scripting on HTML fields, right? Another example would be a check to see if you have the mid-server command audit log enabled, right? For those organizations that are using the item discovery and item visibility, right? And are using mid servers to perform the discovery in the on-prem and cloud environment, right? This mid-server command audit log helps you keep track of all the different commands that ServiceNow is pushing to the remote endpoints to perform the discovery activities, right? So having an audit of all these different interaction between the mid-server and your on-prem devices could be really, really beneficial, right? So again, hardening is our ability to check all those security settings for you and tell you basically how close you are from ServiceNow best security hardening. Then we have metrics that basically enables customers to monitor and identify security threats and risky behaviors in your ServiceNow environment. So metrics will give you a number of different views, different dashboards that you can use to track things like how many login failures do I have in my ServiceNow environment, right? Or for example, things like the number of high privilege users that are accessing the platform with no MFA, or perhaps maybe number of API access to my instance without an access policy, right? So metrics, again, will give you a really nice visual of relevant information that you can use to see and identify, like I said before, risky behaviors or perhaps potential threats. Then we have the scanner that allows you to scan your ServiceNow instance against a set of security checks to identify misconfigurations or risky behaviors. So you can use the scanner, for example, to look for things like finding public-facing knowledge articles in your environment. Perhaps there's a misconfiguration on a number of knowledge-based articles. You are missing a permission, and all of a sudden, those articles and KBs are public, and anybody with internet access can access perhaps maybe sensitive information that you have in those knowledge-based articles, right? So the scanner will give you, again, the ability to go and scan your ServiceNow environment for risky behaviors or potential misconfigurations. And then we have learning, which is a central repository of security resources that ServiceNow admins can use to access best practice documentation, security documentation, and also compliance documents. And the last item that we have here is best practices that basically gives you access to a number of best practices tasks that will give you a step-by-step guidance in terms of the steps that you need to follow for securing your ServiceNow environment. So again, a really cool tool. This is free, out of the box. You can access ServiceNow Security Center by going to the admin menu and then clicking Security Center, and you can start your security process, security review with this out-of-the-box security tool. And the good news is that with every release, we add more content, we add more features. So you will continue to benefit from this security center more and more as we release new ServiceNow versions. And another important topic for this section is logging and monitoring. So logging and monitoring, as you can see from this slide, is a shared responsibility between ServiceNow and the customer. On the right, we can see that ServiceNow is responsible for managing the infrastructure, including the operating system logs, database log, network device logs, and logs for all the components that are required to provide the ServiceNow platform service. And then we also have a global security operations team that is continuously monitoring and analyzing these logs to make sure that we keep our service safe and secure. Now, on the other side, from the customer perspective, and more specifically what we have on the left, as I mentioned before, the platform generates a lot of transactions and login events based on how customers are using the platform. And all this information is stored in a database inside your instance, right? So it's important to remember that since this is customer data, ServiceNow does not inspect or analyze any customer data and any customer logs. So customers are responsible for monitoring and analyzing all of this activity that is happening within your ServiceNow instance. And customers can access these logs via the user interface. And if they need, they can export these events manually, or perhaps maybe consume these logs via API or forward these logs to a centralized logging solution using syslog or the out-of-the-box log export services, which is a Kafka streaming service that allows you to stream events in near real time. So again, really important for customers to understand that customers are responsible for monitoring and analyzing all the activity that is happening within the ServiceNow instance, and more specifically, the activity that we captured through the logs. Now, moving into the customer managed access controls of the instance, this is a critical aspect of the security of your ServiceNow environment. And if we look back at the shared responsibility model, you'll see that this item is a customer responsibility. That's why customers are responsible for configuring the authentication and authorization. So only approved users can access the ServiceNow instance, and that sensitive data within the ServiceNow environment is protected, right? And as you can see from the left side of the screen, ServiceNow provides mechanisms to support secure identification and authentication. We support LDAP, Active Directory, SAML 2.0. You can integrate the ServiceNow platform with many IDPs like Entra ID, Okta, SailPoint, or perhaps you can use local authentication if you need. For the authorization side, which is the other side of this view, ServiceNow offers security controls such as role-based access control, role inheritance, advanced control engine that supports multi-level ACLs that you can apply at the field level or the table level. We have features, like I mentioned before, like security data filters to allow more granular control over specific records. And we have other mechanisms and features that will help you keep your environment and data safe and secure. All this information, again, is in the security best practices guide. So please make sure that you check that document so you can access some of this information in more detail. And then following on that authentication conversation, the platform provides an out-of-the-box feature that is called adaptive authentication that basically gives you the option to create more granular authentication policies for your ServiceNow environment. Adaptive authentication uses policies to evaluate the request, and based on some of those attributes that we see in the request, like the IP address, the role, the group membership, etc., you can define whether you want to allow the access or perhaps deny the access, or maybe force the user or push the user to use MFA. So this is a really powerful tool that gives you more control over where your users are connecting from. A really good example would be perhaps using adaptive authentication to restrict access to any users that have sensitive roles or high privilege within ServiceNow, like, for example, the admin user or the discovery admin or your HR admin, right? So you can place an adaptive authentication policy to only allow those individuals with sensitive roles to only access the ServiceNow instance from your trusted network or from your corporate network, for example, right? And if those individuals are trying to access the instance from a different network, right? The platform will recheck that login. So again, really cool tool that will help you have more control over who is accessing your environment and from where. And then email security is another topic because, it's another important topic because email is frequently used by attackers to compromise systems, right? You probably know that customers can use their own email infrastructure or use ServiceNow email infrastructure when integrating the platform with email. From the ServiceNow platform standpoint, customers can place restrictions on the specific attachment file types that they allow via email. They can also manage which specific domains and users can send emails or receive emails from the ServiceNow instance. The platform also provides an anti-malware scanning feature. That way, if you receive an email with a malicious attachment, it will be automatically put in the quarantine in the instance for additional inspection. And you can also use the anti-spam feature that we have within the platform to analyze any inbound emails that we receive. And then, as you see from the last box that we have there, ServiceNow also provides SPF records to authorize email hosts, and also supports DMARC and DKIM for enhanced email security, and to make sure that you have the elements to secure that email communication between perhaps your on-prem gateway and then the ServiceNow cloud, or if you're using just a service, the email service from the ServiceNow cloud, you have all the elements that you need to protect that communication channel to and from the ServiceNow instance. And now, as we enter in our final segment for our webinar, we will be now discussing the run phase of this security journey with ServiceNow. And after discussing the crawl and walk phases, we are now ready to talk about more advanced and complex topics. So in this segment, we will cover advanced configuration security features, provide an overview of encryption and the ServiceNow Vault offering that we have available to customers at an extra cost and an extra licensing. And we will also discuss how we can approach penetration tests and other options you have for running your own penetration test. So the first item that we have here in this section is data classification. And data classification and privacy requirements are becoming more important across all industries. ServiceNow offers a free out-of-the-box features that allows customers to classify data within the instance. Customers can classify tables or individual columns to get more visibility into the data types that they have within the instance, and then identify things like, PII or PHI within the environment and get a really nice representation of the type of data that they have in the environment and where that data is located. So by default, there are 5 different classes. We have confidential, we have internal, personal identifiable information or PII, public, restricted, and users with the admin or data classification role can go and create new classes and apply classifications. There's a lot of flexibility there. And again, as I said before, these out-of-the-box features helps customers get a more information into the data types that they have in the ServiceNow instance, where that sensitive data is located, so customers can then start looking into how they can secure that sensitive data and protect that sensitive data. Now, when it comes to encryption, it is important to consider your organization needs and requirements. And if we go back to the shared responsibility model, you'll probably remember that encryption at rest is a customer responsibility, like I said before, and it's not enabled by default for customers that are using the commercial cloud. So ServiceNow provides several options, including a free out-of-the-box option that we call Field Encryption Starter. And we also have some premium options available at an additional cost, like Cloud Encryption or Field Encryption Enterprise as well. So this basically allows customers to select the solution that aligns with their specific compliance and requirements for encryption at rest. And as you can see from here, we have those options in this view. So if we go from left to right, we can see, oops, one second, there we go. So if we go from left to right, we can see that field encryption is the feature that basically gives you the ability to encrypt sensitive data at the field level inside your ServiceNow platform. So based on where you have the sensitive data in your ServiceNow platform, you can use field encryption to go and encrypt those sensitive fields. Then you can go and define policies to define who can access the encryption key to go and decrypt or encrypt the data. So you have control over who can see that data. And when using, the field encryption enterprise version of this feature, customers have complete control over the key. They can use either a ServiceNow key or a customer supplied key, and they also have complete control over the key rotation process. I don't know why this keeps moving on. My apologies for that. Then we have cloud encryption, which is transparent database encryption at the volume level. Customers can use cloud encryption to provide, again, that encryption at rest of your database files. When customers use cloud encryption, they have complete control over the key. They can use a ServiceNow key or a customer supplied key, and they have complete control over the key rotation process. And then the last option that we have here is disk encryption, which is basically similar to cloud encryption, but instead of software, we are using hardware. So we have self-encrypting hard drives providing that encryption at rest. Something important to know here when it comes to full disk encryption is that this option requires dedicated hardware. And now moving into ServiceNow Vault. Vault is our subscription-based offering for advanced security features that is designed to help customers with more advanced security use cases and security requirements. As you can see from this slide, Vault is a bundle of 5 advanced security capabilities that include platform encryption. That's basically the feature that gives you the tools like field encryption enterprise, like I mentioned before, for encrypting data at the field level, and cloud encryption for encrypting information at the volume level. Then we have data privacy to identify and classify sensitive data in your ServiceNow environment. And if you need, you can anonymize that data. Then we have the enhanced version of log export services for moving all the security events that you have in your ServiceNow environment to your log management solution of choice. Then we have code signing to ensure authenticity and integrity of the scripts and code that you run in your ServiceNow environment. And then we have a zero trust access, which is the advanced version of the adaptive authentication feature that I was describing before, that gives you control over who is connecting to your platform. And it's using some extra inputs to process that information as well. So it's basically gives you the ability to look for geolocation, so you can define rules based on countries now and say, I only want users from the US or Canada to connect to my ServiceNow instance. Anybody else should be automatically blocked from accessing my platform. Or you can also use IDP attributes with zero trust to use that information to evaluate and then decide whether you want to allow or deny the access. So again, these are really powerful features. Vault requires extra licensing. This is not out of the box, and it helps our customers with more advanced security use cases and requirements. So moving into penetration testing, which is another really important topic. It is important to remember customers that they are authorized to run one penetration test a year to go and assess their instance, right? So this is free for customers, but it's important to remember that they need to coordinate this activity with our ServiceNow support, right? So it's not that you can go and run the penetration test, now, for example, right? You need to reach out to support. Support will give you a window, and then you can go and perform the penetration test in that specific window that support assigned to you. We have a knowledge base article or a KB that outlines all the steps that you need to follow. And then you can also access in our core portal the ServiceNow penetration test that we perform with every release. So as part of perhaps your vendor assessment or your evaluations that you do every year, you can go and check the ServiceNow penetration test that we have available to customers for every release and every product that we have within the platform. So we have another poll question here. Let's go really quick because I'm almost running out of time. So this question is, where do you feel you are in your security journey with ServiceNow? Do you feel that you are in the crawl phase? Do you feel that you're in the walk phase? Do you feel that you're in the run phase? So based on all this information that I've been sharing with you, please go and select one of these options because I want to know where you are in your cybersecurity journey. So let's give this maybe 5 more seconds, and then we are going to go ahead and move into our final slides of this session. Okay, so let's go ahead and close that now. And this information that I have here in this screen basically covers everything that we discussed today. I would like to put more emphasis one more time around Security Center and how important it is, how you can use Security Center to start performing the hardening of your environment, start putting those best security practices in place to make sure that you secure the environment and also the data that you have within the environment. So these pillars that you see on this screen map really close to security and privacy standards like the NIST cybersecurity framework. At ServiceNow, our vision is to make it easy for you so you can expose the right data to the right for the right reasons to the right people every time and be able to prove it. And then one more question here, which is, after this presentation, what is the likelihood you will use the Security Center moving forward? Not likely, possibly, I need to understand more. I can't wait to use Security Center. So please go ahead and select your option because we want to know how you feel about Security Center. And we also want to know about, if we need to do perhaps maybe more webinars like this, right? And share more information with you about Security Center. So let's give this 3 more seconds so we can capture that information. And then we move into our call to action items. So we have a few here really quick. The first one is for you to identify where you are in your cybersecurity journey, right? As we went through this session, our approach is the crawl, walk, run. Hopefully at this point, you have enough information to assess and see where you are at. If you feel that you need more information, more support from us, please reach out to your account executive and have your account executive reach out to the office of the CISO, and we will be more than happy to have a call with you to assist and provide more information as you need. Then we have Security Center, right, that you can use to secure your instance. We have a lot of videos, links, a lot of information that you can use to perform that process. And then we have public information documentation in the trust side. We also have the core compliance portal which again is our way to be transparent with you and share how we approach security within ServiceNow. And then we have Security Best Practices Guide, which is a really good document that you can use to start your security journey along with Security Center as well. So the last question that we have for this session is about, how do you feel now about securing your ServiceNow instance? Do you feel extremely confident, somewhat confident? Do you feel neutral, not very confident? I still have no idea where to begin. So let's go ahead, just take a couple seconds, please. Select your option. Let me know how you feel. Chris, I don't know if you can maybe read those options for me and see the results that we are getting so far.
Yeah, we get about 50% somewhat confident. The next is 30% neutral, and about 18% is extremely confident. We do have a couple of questions. I know that we're over time. So if you want to quickly move to other questions or your final slides, just let me know.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you. Thanks everyone for providing that information. Again, if you want to know more about Security Center, or if you feel that you need more information from us, please reach out to your account executive, and your account executive can coordinate and schedule a session with the Office of the CISO. We are here to help you. And then as for the questions here,
in the Q&A open questions, if you want to take a look.
I don't see that option, Chris. Here, let me see.
So
got it. I have.
You've got it?
Yeah, I got it. I have 4 questions here. In the past, we had one data center outage. Even though we were restored after 45 minutes of downtime, is there any solution like Down Detector that is the official way to find out your instance is down without having to wait for your customers to tell you they can access your instance? I may have to think about that and see what options we have that could potentially provide you more insights in real time about that specific option outside of Down Detector. Then I have another one using the May 25 ACL security findings as an example. Is there any way to proactively be aware of ServiceNow CVEs, vulnerability exposures, finding feature before a fix is released, to be better aware of what's this security impact? So we have a security advisories website that we publish as where we publish our CVEs. That's the way that you can go and check CVEs and any related information. And if we feel that we need to provide more information, we usually link KVs and things like that inside the CVE record.
I just posted that link to the trust.servicenow.com site.
Thank you, Chris. Then we have another one. Can we request ServiceNow also to perform penetration tests on a particular instance? Unfortunately, that's not an option. Penetration test on demand is customers can run that as needed and once a year. So we don't perform any penetration test on behalf of customers, right? But keep in mind that you can also access the penetration test reports inside Core that can help you get an idea or information in terms of how we evaluate a release before making that available to users, right? And also you can check the software development lifecycle to see how we continuously test the code as we release or as we produce code every week before release. Then I have another question here. What AI capabilities are added in Security Center, or how can they be incorporated into Security Center? That's a really great question. So Security Center doesn't have at the moment any AI analysis. Capabilities like Now Assist Guardian are part of the AI side and don't show any information inside Security Center at the moment, right? So If you are familiar with Guardian, that's outside of Security Center. And then any data privacy features related to Now Assist and AI, those are things that are outside of Security Center as well. And then the last one, Chris, please provide the link where the recording will be stored. So the recording will be probably in 7 days from now in the community site.
I just posted a link that should be where you'll go to find the recording.
Excellent. So again, thanks everyone for your participation. I really appreciate you taking the time from your busy schedule. As I said before, my goal today was to provide more information around how you can secure your ServiceNow environment, right? How you can protect your instance and secure your data. Hopefully this all information that I share with you today will help you move in this process, right? And if you feel that you need more support, more help, we are here to help you. If you need more assistance, please reach out to your account executive and have your account executive schedule a session with the office of the CISO. And we will be more than happy to have a conversation with you, help you, and make sure that you have all the information that you need to secure your ServiceNow instance. So thank you again, and have a great rest of your day.
One more note, just wanted to let everyone know next month's Academy will be focused on security centers. So come back and join us on the second Tuesday of November. Thank you.